Lamborghini created the super sports utility vehicle, or now it says, because it made the LM002 in the 1980s, which it decided it would sell to the military until they decided that they could do without a naturally aspirated V12 engine car on the battlefield, unsurprisingly. But the super sports SUV is back. And because Lamborghini is a famous supercar company, it gives it the marketing credibility to sell what is effectively an extension of Volkswagen's MLB Evo platform-engined SUVs. There are loads of these: the Bentley Bentayga, Audi Q7, the Porsche Cayenne, there will be a new Volkswagen Touareg, and now there's this. This is powered by the V8 engine, as you can hear. It sounds a little bit synthetic slightly. Such is the way of these things that Lamborghini differentiates this car from other cars on the same architecture by saying, look, no other car within the group has so much power. No other of these SUVs within the group has a torque sensing centre differential and torque vectoring rear differential. And that makes this car, plus all the other stuff they've done with it, the best in class for handling, they reckon. And among the best in class, among the best class for off-road. So we can do three things. We're going to drive it on track, we're going to go out on the road and then drive it on an off-road track as well. I think Lamborghini's idea of an off-road track is somewhat different to, say, Land Rover's. I think this basically looks like a rallycross track from what I've seen on it so far. So let's see how we get on. First impressions? There are lots of drive modes. I'm in the angriest and the firmest, but there is still, despite active anti-roll bars, there is still a little bit of roll, but that's no bad thing actually. It helps you lean up against what the chassis is doing. It feels as agile as a 2.2 ton SUV is likely to, by virtue of the fact that Lamborghini has thrown pretty much everything at this. It does feel tightly controlled as those anti-roll bars wind themselves solid. God, it really gets on. That's 125 miles an hour down that straight. It will push on into understeer if you take too much entry speed in. There's a little bit of understeer. There's the diff trying to send power to the back. It will squeal its tyres, give itself a proper workout on the way out. It can send up to 75% to either rear wheel. The four-wheel drive system is normally 40% front, 60% rear, but it can send in this mode up to 85% of power to the back, which is quite a lot. Steering is sort of lightish and then weights up totally artificially, but it weights up well enough actually. And there's no steering feel per se to speak of, but it does an impression of it. It's got carbon ceramic brakes as standard. You get 400mm 10 piston at the front. I suspect on a track day I could go and monster quite a lot of other cars. It's got 650 brake horsepower, 650 PS actually, 642 brake, whatever that is, 640 brake. Loads of torque, plateaus from 2000 RPM. I don't think even a Cayenne Turbo does this, you know. I don't think that there is any other big SUV that can do what this car does. I think what we'll do is go out on the road though, and then go off-road, and find out if A, that compromises it elsewhere, and B, whether you really want a 2.2 ton SUV to do what this car does. If you were to drive it on a circuit blindfolded, not that we'd advise it, would you know that this was a Lamborghini? Well, you might, you know. There are bits of steering feel about it. Certainly the engine is loud and angry enough, and there are hints of the agility that other Lamborghinis have. And they've tried to put that character into the Urus, and I think largely they've been successful. Now, whether they should have done that or not is a different question, but we will come to that. So welcome then to an Urus on the road, which is pretty refined from an engine point of view, isn't it? So it's got this anima thing, which puts it into different drive modes. In Strada, street, it's just very normal. There's also, you can kind of tailor what you want in terms of steering response, engine response, damper control, but I'm just going to leave it in street, just leave it in normal mode, see what it mooches around like. These are not brilliantly surfaced roads, so it should be a good ride test. Well, you've never driven a Lamborghini around so calmly and serenely before. The engine's woofling away quietly. You can get 21, 22 or 23 inch wheels. They come with options of off-road tyres, all-season tyres, Corsa sport tyres, all Pirellis, and they slightly differ depending on what wheel size you've got as to what you can have. But they're all quite big, aren't they? I mean, 23s are massive. Quality of ride comfort rather depends on the kind of road you're on. I know that sounds an obvious thing to say, but what I mean is it is more adversely affected by bad surfaces than a typical SUV is. If you get rutted tarmac, all of a sudden it moves all of a piece, for example, over that. And I guess that's part of the nature of a car like this, although it's got active anti-roll bars which stiffen up in corners and yet slacken off if you're on a straight, something bumpy, and it's, you know, the idea is that it retains its body control and roll control very well, but it also allows a lot of bump absorption. Sometimes that stuff doesn't happen quickly enough, but because it's a Lamborghini, it does not have to put comfort way up its priority list. On the flip side, this is a good 300 kilos lighter, and there is a benefit to it. It feels, as you turn, more willing than an SUV of this size and weight has any right to. The steering is a little bit Lamborghini-ish in that it's light, you don't get a huge amount back, and then it weights up and it adds an artificial weight to it quite quickly as you wind on lock. So it's a bit weird. There is active rear steer, which goes in the opposite direction of the front wheels at low speed to make it more agile, and then at higher speeds it goes with the front wheels to make the car more stable. So it's got the whole raft of things to try and make it as agile as it can be, as stable as it can be at high speeds. Inside, they've given it a Lamborghini look as well as best they can. Some of the switchgear, like the column stalks and stuff like that, very obviously come off of the other cars on this platform, and it is the jewellery, if you like. It is wearing Lamborghini effects, but it doesn't feel like a Lamborghini through and through on the interior, as I suppose it wouldn't do, because what other Lamborghini can seat 2 or 3 in the back and carry 2 golf bags? You look at it and you think, God, it's not a Lamborghini, is it? You look at the specs, turbocharged car, 2.2 ton curb weight, and you think, not really sure it's a Lamborghini, is it? And then you do start driving it and you think, you know what? They have really chucked absolutely everything at this to make this car feel like a Lamborghini in its DNA. They talk about that a lot. They talk about the design, they talk about the emotion, they talk about the spirit. The overriding driver for this car is not emotion and spirit and handling. The biggest driver for it is profit, obviously. This car will double Lamborghini's output. It has to make one, and it can only make one because it makes super sports cars. And it can probably only carry on making super sports cars of the nature it does because it will have an SUV. I'm warming to this car. But the teller is, it's an SUV, all right? So that's maybe the deciding, arbitrating factor. Has to do what an SUV can do. Okay, so welcome inside the Urus in an off-road environment, which is not a typical launchy off-road course where they put out large rocks and stuff like that. This is basically a rallycross stage as far as I can tell. So the idea is you feel how this car puts its power around. You can feel that rear differential working and putting power to the outside back wheel to give it extra poke at the back and just help the cornering line. It's really good fun actually. We're in terra, which is gravel, which raises the suspension over the standard lane. Oh, that is good. That is good. And for a car that can do what it does on a flat circuit, it is fairly extraordinary that it can do this stuff as well. You can drive it on the throttle, peak power, peak torque rather, is at like 2,200 revs, and there's 800 odd newton meters of it, so it's really, it doesn't half get going. God, what an extraordinary amount of fun, what a terrific thing. To think that this car can lap as it does on a circuit and with just a change of tyres can do this, and yet actually it is incredibly usable on the road as well. You can say what you like about whether you can inject super sports DNA into a car like this, but I think if you are going to make a car like this, and there is an inevitability and a realism about a company that knows it really ought to and has to make an SUV, I think they've probably put as much Lamborghini-ness into it as they possibly can.
Should they have done it? Well, you can't imagine that they couldn't have done it, really. Now, like you perhaps, I would rather have had a large capacity V12 in the front, but this is what we've got. And despite everything, I rather like it.